G'day and welcome to David Joshua Ford Live, episode 122. Today we're taking a look at the Rodecaster video and how that plays in with a Stream Deck running via Companion, so you can hook up that to the rest of the gear in your studio. We're going to take a look at the connection to the Companion's RCV module, but also as I was going through that, I have a bunch of other firmware wish lists that I would like to see, so I'm just going to put that out there, hoping that Rode will see this and incorporate that because it's been a fantastic device and I'm really excited by it. I think if I was starting live streaming over again back in 2020 when the A10 Mini Pro came out, then what we have now in the Rodecaster Video, and particularly the Rodecaster Video S for the price point, is just really amazing, and we can go into some of the details of that. It's good to be back in the chair. It's happy 2026. Great to have you back here. I've been in Australia for a bit at the beach, which was really nice to be able to get out of cold New York and to get down there. So also picked up a new drone, which we'll see in terms of the drone bans going on, but it seemed like a good time to buy it, given that they're not going to be selling in the States anymore. So that's what I've been doing for the last month or so, but back in New York City now. So as we go along, let me know if you've got any questions about what I'm talking about today, and I can answer that in the chat, or other things about live streaming or video production. But let's kick off and let's take a look at how to connect the Rode Videocaster to the Companion RCV module so that you can extend your connectivity. So I've got the Rodecaster video here. Just pull up my desk shot here. But if you don't want, personally the way I like setting my desk is actually not having this on the desk, but having it away. And I've got here for demonstrations, but getting these cables off the desk, what's nice is being able to just run everything either on a Stream Deck, or you can also run it on something like an iPad for total wireless connectivity. So that's the reason why I've been using Companion with things like the ATEM or the Rodecaster, just to make a much better desk setup. But it also means you can build in other functionality like the PTZ cameras that I'm shooting on here and getting different angles. That can all be built into buttons, so you're controlling multiple things at once in terms of switching video on the Rodecaster, as well as pulling into something like using PTZ cameras to reallocate where your camera is pointing at. So if you want to get using this, then we're going to have to go over to bitfocus.io. Let me just jump to, I think I've jumped ahead here. Bitfocus.io/download is where you'll grab Companion 4.2.2 is the latest one at the time of this recording. Windows, Mac, Intel, Silicon, or Linux, just choose what you want to run that on. And then if we come back over here to my drone pictures and just jump, where are we? Jump through my pictures to my diagram here. So connecting this up really relies on having control over your local network settings. So you can see I've got the router in the middle of that. So on the right side here, I've got a Stream Deck, which is plugged via USB into a computer. The computer is running Companion that I just showed you where to download from. And that's kind of the server which is sending out the commands to pieces of equipment like ATEMs or the Rodecaster or PTZ cameras. And so that is via Wi-Fi or Ethernet, but particularly Ethernet if you can, into a switch in the router. That's setting the IP addresses. And then on the other end of that is the Rodecaster is going to be connected over the local network. So that's kind of the setup that we have going on here. And then you can get more tricky with this, adding in satellites. So what I've actually got at my desk here is a different computer on my workstation. So the Stream Deck USB is plugged into that, and then it's connected over the network back to the computer, which is a Mac Mini in the rack running Companion as the server, and then it's controlling all the equipment. And then you can also throw in something like an iPad or a phone if you want wireless control of all of this stuff. Let me just see what I was up to on Rodecaster Video. I'll go to this one. So if we take a look at the Rodecaster Video versus the A10 Mini Pro, I think one of the reasons I feel like it's the winner at the moment is it's got much better audio mixer, it's got better software, and it's got more modern connections because The ATEM Mini was good for switching, but I found that the user interface of it was so archaic that's actually what got me into running all of this sort of Companion and Stream Deck, is being able to create a more ergonomic and customizable surface to switch a show on. So I'm much enjoying the Rodecaster videos, audio connections as well too. So if we go to the front version down here, just having proper audio inputs here. So there's a great mixer inside of it, but even if you wanted to mix elsewhere and then just bring in your program audio, you've got actual professional inputs here to bring that in. Still got a bunch of HDMI inputs there, but also you can bring in NDI, and you've also got some sort of UVC for webcams and stuff. So it's very flexible, and it just sort of means that you can, I think in today's environment, for creators who are wanting versatility, to be able to, like, just pick up a phone and get a B-roll shot of something, or bring in NDI connections so you could actually not have to plug in any HDMI cable runs and that kind of stuff. There's a lot more flexibility and versatility with that. And also just the software interface is much better. If we can have a look at this quickly here. This is the software, and then the scene builder, just much more intuitive of how to lay that out, as opposed to the ATEM software. If I bring this over, is very sort of old school with, big switches, buttons that you're switching and that kind of stuff. So a little more clunky, particularly when you get into things like the super source. It's very like putting in specific numbers and that kind of stuff, whereas the Rodecaster has a much more of a graphical layout to that, and being able to move boxes around. All right, we are going to look at the Stream Deck Surface. So I want to do a bit of a demo of, I've got a profile that I've been working on of the Rodecaster, so that you can operate it on a Stream Deck XL or a iPad. So we've got, where has that gone? Over here. So on the Stream Deck, this is sort of what I'm working on here, is just being able to switch camera inputs or scene inputs, and then also like media or overlay. So sort of working on the layout here. But there's some nice things that are coming into here, like being able to visualize the audio in the meters here. I think that'll probably come to other Companion modules. For, I think maybe the ATEM would have that in the next several months, but it's really nice having that visualization, looking at the output and sort of menus. So this is a little bit sort of in development, but if I go to my super source over here, and I'll bring up my multi-viewer, where is that? So this is the Rodecaster multi-viewer, and using the iPad, you can see I can sort of do my preview to select what I want and cut across, so I can switch on an iPad, which keeps the desk free and can run around the studio without having to be tethered. And what else? I'm sort of working on some of the layout things here, like being able to hold things, like to push a overlay on here. Just trying to get the most amount of stuff onto the XL surface. But this is kind of the what you can build out with it. That's where I'm sort of up to with that development. But when you start, you'll go to download Companion 422, as I said, install that, and then it'll be up here to open the window, and then under the connections, go to search here and go RCV, and you'll see the Rodecaster video app here. You can also click on this little question mark here, and it'll show you what actions it can control, the feedbacks it can give, and what variables are available there. I've already installed it, so that is down here is what it looks like. Pretty easy to set up. You're basically just putting in the IP address of where that is on your network. So my subnet is 192.168.7, and then 185 is my actual Rodecaster device, and you'll be able to find that if you get the Rodecaster app in here, you can see I'm running firmware 129.1125 and the IP address 185 here. So it's just getting that IP address and going into Companion, pasting it in there, save it, and then you will have, you'll be able to bring in buttons. And if you want to get started, you can just go to presets, RCV, and you can have like inputs, for example, and you can just start by dragging buttons in there. So it's all free, open source, easy to get going with that. So it's, you know, it's free, so give it a go. Take a look at it. All right, next up is, I want to take a look at some of the firmware wish lists that I have, if Rode is listening to these, and take these on board, because as I've been programming it for Companion, there were a few things that I was like, oh, I wish I could do this. Partly just related to the firmware, some of it related to how it interacts with Companion. So the first one is, I wish that it had a photo and image encoder in the software to import any media size or format. I'm thinking about images, but also for video. The reason is that to be fast and easy when you make a live stream, you want to be able to just bring in media. And at the moment, you have to have the exact sort of dimensions. The ATEM's sort of similar like that too. Otherwise, you're going to get either black bars or the media is going to be too big. So I'm just going to hide that. And we're going to come over to here. So for example, if I had my drone pictures from before, where were they? I'm just going to grab one of these ones. And if I drag it in, it's going to say width bigger than 1920 pixels. So ideally at this point, the software could just, you know, grab a JPEG and resize it to that, and then put that image on the machine, or maybe even a bit bigger if you want to have canvas to sort of move it around a bit, and then also have an option for it to fully fit within the screen, or to sort of scale to crop the edges so you can have like a full frame picture. Because one of the challenges I have with fast live streaming is, like, if I want to quickly show you a bunch of photos that I've taken over the week, to just be like, hey, this is what I did this week. They're all in 3.2, and so, you know, this kind of, this 3.2, it's maybe 4.3, this one on the drone. But I don't want to have to go into every image and crop it and resize it and output it, and it's too much back and forth, and I think it could be basically automated in the app and work very nicely. The other one that I want is to be able to have remote power on, or to auto power up after a power outage. So this is a little bit like my Mac Mini, which runs as a server for this live stream. If I lose power entirely, when power comes back, it will automatically reboot. So this actually happened in Australia, where for some reason, I don't know if it was a firmware update or whatever, my remote access to the Mac Mini had, like, the computer had frozen up, and the only way that I was able to reset it was basically, I have it connected to a Wi-Fi plug in my rack over here. So the Mac Mini is in the back of this, and there's some Wi-Fi switches in there. So remotely on my phone, I could basically kill the power and reboot it, and it came back on, and I could continue on from 13,000 miles away, or however long the distance is to Australia. And the challenge with this one, is this side? Yes. So power button's great, works well, easy to power on and off. It's just that if it loses power, then you've got to press the button to bring it back on. So I feel like there could be an easy firmware setting where if it loses power, it would automatically come back on, so that I know that if I've turned it on and it's in its on state, then even if I lose power, it's going to, it's just going to reboot, and it'll make it much better as sort of a network device and for more remote control. I'm just going to change a setting here on where'd my focus setting go? Focus on, I realized I didn't mute my Whoops, this one, focus, and live streaming, okay. All right, next up is assign a graphic or a video file to the fade to black button for pre or post show instead of black. So you'll notice in the software here, you've got your fade to black button here. Let me just bring up my multi-viewer here so you can see down here. Fade to black, and if we click on the settings icon here, it would be nice in here if we could just drag an image, maybe even a video, but particularly an image over here so that instead of going to black, it could basically go to a show holder graphic. That way, you know, you could have a professional looking image for your show and it's just on that before, and you get your stream up and running, and when you're ready to go live in terms of like, you know, camera and talking, then you can come off the FTB. So I think that could be a really cool feature, just to be able to put in a graphic rather than just going to black would be nice. The other one is like having a master audio fader or a mute button. The Rodecaster has a really great mixer in it. I can come back to over here and click on my audio mixer, being able to listen to the live mix and all the different sort of outputs there, but it would be great to have a sort of master fader here. I don't know if that would get to, there's probably a reason why they didn't do it, but I just think alongside the fade to black, you know, sometimes you want to have all of your show set up and mix and your levels are set, but you just want to kill all the audio coming through. And so having a mute and a master fader, I think would help being able to control what's going out if you need to. All right, next up, having FTP access to be able to copy or back up video recordings over the network would be amazing. I'm gonna hide this one. I do this with my ATEM Extreme already, and it just makes life much more simple, which is, you see on my network here, if I go to my network, my Extreme, so this is my ATEM Extreme ISO, is that right? Extreme SDI, whatever, ISO. And the 2 terabyte hard drive that I have plugged in here can show up on the network as a connected drive. And then I can use something like, I don't know where it's gone, but like, is that it? I don't have it down here, but Carbon Copy Cloner or some other sort of backup software to basically grab those files and copy them somewhere. So it would just make it could mean you could just have your media plugged into your Rodecaster, and then you could do all of your management of that from a computer somewhere else, remote management of that, and also just backup. Makes it safer, I think, if you've got something automated to back up your files rather than just having all the show on a disk that you know, you've got to do it after each show to back up. What I have with my Extreme is that I have Carbon Copy Cloner that's just watching for new files on the network, and so after a show, it will go and grab a new recording and will copy it onto my, it's not a NAS, but it's like my network drive, which has a bunch of storage on it, so that it's off the Extreme, and then eventually I shut the whole, you know, live stream down when I'm not using it. So the ATEM Extreme is not on 24/7. I can shut it off, but I have those files on a mass storage device that I can then edit with and archive and that kind of stuff. So that'd be really neat. Next one is the ability to not only reassign a scene, but to duplicate or copy it to make an alternate version. I found this when I was in let me just get this organized here. When you build out a scene, this is not the greatest scene, this is just fooling around with putting some things in. Sometimes it's like you've got 5 or 6 elements and you just want to make a variation on one. You know, maybe you've got 3 boxes and you want to have all of the same elements, but you want to have one with 2 boxes here. So being able to, I mean, maybe like option click and drag would be good, but at least here to have a button which would, rather than reassign or delete, you could like hit duplicate and it would, you know, wipe over D, or like, you know, have the options to do that. So I think it'll just make it faster to build out a certain look that you want in the show, and yeah, that would be nice. The other one, just in terms of, you know, usability, I think is just having camera and scene names in the software to show their actual names instead of just 1, 2, 3, A, B, C, D. So at the moment you can see it matches here, so that makes sense and probably is good to have by default in terms of your inputs 1 to 6 and your scenes A to G here, and then in the software it matches there. But for example, if I click on camera 1 here, we've got I can, you know, rename this, this is actually program, I think, ATEM program feed is coming on HDMI. And so just be able to have that name appear here in a bit more of a, when you're switching, would be more intuitive than just like 1 to 6. And the ATEM does this in terms of long names and short names. So you can have 2 fields. Short names are just, you know, 4 letters, and the long names can be quite a bit longer. So that's maybe one way around that. Lastly, I would like to be able to receive a browser URL for overlay and chroma, graphics, chat, and that kind of stuff. I do that at the moment with, let's bring this one over so you can see what I'm doing here. Yeah, there you go. So my, using my ATEM, I run H2R graphics into OBS, and so this is a remote view into my Mac Mini, which is in the rack. And so I have a scene, H2R graphics, and it's basically pulling up like this web address here, and the background is transparent. Let me just see if I can bring up so when I put up let me see what we got here. Let's go Gregory from Wisconsin. You'll see, so you've got the main comment that's coming over the top of the program because it's live. You've got this web output that is fed into HDR graphics, and then the what do you call it, Decklink, Ultra Studio, whatever, is pulling that into the ATEM with a key and a fill, and then that's what's going over the top of the graphics. G'day, Gregory from Wisconsin. Great to have you here listening. So that's how I do my graphics into the show, and it's really just, I'm just going to move this one out of the way and bring back my Chrome. It's just a web address. So H2R I have bookmarked here. This is how I sort of control things, you know, so I can sort of bring on graphics just by clicking in a web browser, which is also how I do that on the iPad, is like I can hold a web version of the iPad here. So I can see everyone's comments as they come in H2R, and when I press them, Gregory's getting a lot of screen time here. That's how I sort of trigger that, and then I can kick it off again. And that's the web address, but basically if I just change this to output, boom, is basically, this is the output of that. So again, if I bring Gregory up, you'll see that there's basically a full screen 16:9, which is feeding into, you know, the ATEM, and it's sort of pulling that out, or OBS rather, into the Decklink, but you could do green screen as well. So that, being able to just bring in a link would make it very easy to add that into, let me go back to, hide that and go back to this one. You know, for a scene, to be able to bring in, I guess it'd be a source or something. There'd be a way around this, I guess, where you could first, like you could put it into OBS and then have it as like a virtual output from OBS, and then you could pick it up into the Rodecaster as an NDI. But I feel like you could just bypass OBS, and having one less application open is really good. I don't like having OBS open. Like I kind of don't like this whole scenario I've got here. So on my Mac Mini is what you're looking at here is, you know, I've got a bunch of apps that I run in the background to run my live stream. Let's see if I can pull them up. So I've got Social Stream, which is pulling in the comments. H2R is doing all the graphics. Light Key is controlling all the sort of light cues. Google Chrome is actually bringing up sort of, what do you call it? Not auto cue, but like cues that I can see where I'm up to in terms of my show notes. And I have that on the screen in front of my, in my teleprompter. And then also NDI Video Monitor is bringing in NDI video from one of the cameras, because I've only got one module converter, and so I'm using a Mac output from just like HDMI out to bring in a third camera and then VLC playback. So there's all these other applications that I have open on just like a Mac Mini, which is my live streaming computer server, and OBS is running one of them. But I feel like with the Rodecaster, you could probably bypass all that and it could just read something, read a URL address, which would be nice. All right, that's what I've got for my firmware updates and also how to use the Rodecaster. Let me know if you have any questions. We can take a look at here. G'day, Upper East Side neighbor. Long time no see. Glad to watch you again doing a thing. I was just hired to be in the Marty Supreme movie. Oh, I will have to check it out. That's very cool. And congratulations on that. Is there a way to turn on and off the RCV through Companion? No. I mean, I wonder if you could. No, you can't. And that's part of what I was saying before of like, that would be really cool as well. I guess you're talking about a standby mode, as in it would be powered on and it would, like all the inputs and processing would be off, but it would be receptive to be in standby mode to power off or to power up or power down. That would be a really great addition as well. Great question, so thanks for suggesting that. It's probably similar to what you can do with my Canon cameras that I have. They're PoE controlled, they're getting their power from the switch, and so they're actually always powered on, and it's basically either, I think it's idle or standby are the two modes. And so I have a sequence, if I can find, what am I going to show you on? I can show you on let me go to Super Source and pull up this one, interactive emulator. Let's just go emulator 1. So on my home screen here, I have like a boot up and a shutdown sequence, which sort of turns on various equipment, and some of it is, let's go to page 1, boot up. Oh wait, it's not actually, it's referencing another button, Kaza. So this is where I control all of my, I've got a bunch of switches and strips that are Wi-Fi controlled, which has been really good and reliable. So I have a boot up and shutdown sequence. So my shutdown sequence is PTZ1. So I have the Canon PTZ Companion module has a power off command. So I can power off these two cameras that are connected here. And then I've got a bunch of other TP-Link switches, which are connected into the mains rack. So, you know, rack 1, mains, power. I've got a separate one for the ATEM Extreme. Remember I said I had the ATEM Extreme running on, that is network connected. So what it means is I can do my, I mean, it happens so instantly, it's not really totally necessary, but it means that I can power down the whole live stream setup, but I can keep the Extreme running so that it can stay, the drive can stay accessible to the network, so I don't have to like unplug a drive and then plug it into my computer, so I can keep that separated. I've got a rack fan, which I turn off just because the rack's very close to the microphone. And I've also got my audio rack. So that's what I've got over here. I've got two 8U ones. The bottom one here is all the video processing, the microphones, and the wing mixer is the top one there. So the wing gets its own power control because it can be separated and sort of sit separately on a job. And then I've got, let me just go back to my super source here. I have other like lighting and stuff. So I have, actually that reminds me, I didn't actually turn off my overhead lights because I didn't run my sequence Casa. Basically it's using Casa here in the app, which is nice because I can, or is it going to crash on me now? What's that doing? Let me just quit that. It's weird. I don't know why Casa's not responding. Of course it does that right now. Casa, coming back. Here we go. All right, usually not a problem with it. Okay, it's playing up at the moment. I don't know why that is. Is it playing up on my phone? Let me see. I've got my, where are we? Casa, where is it? Here we are. Casa on my phone. Is that playing up? Hopefully not. So I've got some strips which can have 6 switches in them, which is always on, but if I am away and needed to kill power to the, it's a little bit bright, huh? There we go. To the studio, then I could access that. And then I've got my, hopefully this will work, hair light. There we go. So other lights are just controlled, which don't have like DMX, like this one doesn't have DMX, but I just set it up with that so I can control that. And then I have, where am I looking for my house lights? Oh, it's offline, maybe that's why. Or where it was over here. House lights, here we go. Not gonna make much of a difference, but I have some house lights in the back that I usually turn off for live streaming. Let's bring my thing back here. Excellent. All right, come back here. I think that's, don't have any more questions. So hopefully that was helpful. I am gonna be doing more on the Rodecaster video this year. It's a really neat device. And as I said, I've been building out a profile for it, which is not finished. And having spoken to Rode, I feel like there's some firmware updates that might be coming soon, which would enable that connection between Companion and Rode. But let's wrap up for today. david-ford.com, that's my website where you can go to grab free profiles for the ATEM. Maybe I'll put a Rodecaster one up there one day. And until next week, take care and I'll see you then. Bye.